Ladies and gentlemen, how are you doing? It's budget day. You might be thinking, that's a strange coincidence, that, isn't it? It's a bit weird how it's budget day today, and the whole of the BBC UK News page is filled with things about the budget, and nothing at all about, well, the obvious. You know, the thing everybody's talking about, because a load of little girls got killed, and the government and the mainstream media colluded to cover it up, lie about it, and then, as usual, to stay just within the letter of the law, release the information that they legally were bound to do, but they did it on purpose 8 hours before the budget was released, so nobody would talk about it. Yeah, it's that budget. So, in the spirit of the government's behaviour, I'm going to do what I believe is probably a world first for what is ostensibly a news channel, and I'm going to do, what would you call it? It's going to be like a mix of The Economist and an Andy McNab novel. Right then, so as we can see, the UK News homepage on the BBC, it's just budget, how it'll affect you, and nothing about the Rwandan bloke with WMDs and lots of copies of the Alan's lad's favourite religious manuscript in his bedroom. That's exactly why they've done it, and if you don't think that's what's happening, you probably haven't got the brains to operate a smartphone, so you're not watching this video, are you? You're wearing a padded jacket, bouncing off the rubber walls in your cell, and being spoon-fed mashed banana by a foreign nurse with absolutely zero formal qualifications and a fraudulent medical slip. The historic 40 billion tax rise is the largest in history, so I think they should have ran with a more succinct headline. I'm thinking something along the lines of, grab your ankles, we're coming in dry. And there's a picture of Rachel Reeves looking smug, as if their government hasn't tyrannised the masses, locked up innocent people resulting in one of their deaths, and played cover for the enemy. At this point, the Labour government are basically the Taliban, right? Abu Hamza, Muqtada al-Sadr and the Taliban are essentially running your country because they cover up for people that kill children as long as they share a particular religious ideology. That's what's going on, and they want you to talk about the budget and not that. So I thought I'd do like a 2-minute preamble laying it all out before I started talking about how much you're going to be paying for no services and no help, okay? Because at least in the 80s, when you paid your taxes, you know, you were guaranteed to have nice roads and clean schools and a functioning healthcare service. Now you pay your taxes, and what do you get for your money? What do you get for your money? Well, you buy Axel Rudu Kanubu his breakfast for 18 years, and you pay for his council house, and you pay for healthcare for waifs and strays from all four corners of the globe, but what do you get out of it? What do you get for your daily toil? Well, we'll cover it, shall we? We'll see what you get rewarded with. Chancellor Rachel Reeves has announced a massive 40 billion package of tax increases to fund the NHS public services that you can't use. The NHS that you're at the back of the queue for, and the public services that, well, you can't go out in public, can you? You don't want to go to a park unless you're interested in watching a Somalian man masturbate furiously, watching the kids on the swings. So who wants to go to a park in England these days? I would rather go to the local place of worship that those boys frequent, but just purely because you're less likely to see a cock and balls in there. Anyway, I'm rambling. Conservative leader Rishi Sunak accused Reeves of breaking her promises to workers and hobbling economic growth. I couldn't believe her radio at this point. I couldn't believe if she burst into flames live on television and said it's a tad warm in here. I wouldn't believe a word she was saying. I'd be like, no, take a woolly pulley if you're going to go and visit Rachel's house. These people are maniacs. Absolute lunatics. They're taxing your job, they're taxing your business, they're taxing your savings, you name it, they'll tax it. Brilliant. And all the money goes to the dumbest shit imaginable. You don't get anything for your money, do you? Sure, we'll pay for the Nigerian Spice Girls. Do you remember that one? That fantastic use of the taxpayers' money? But you don't get anything for your money, do you? And I've ranted about this loads of times. British people love slagging off the American healthcare system. If you work for a living, it's free. My employer covers my healthcare, and I can actually see a doctor. I can ring the doctor, and in a week's time, I'll have an appointment. I can get my teeth looked at by someone who didn't fraudulently obtain the medical certificates and therefore won't attack my molars with a hacksaw. Innit? Everything's failed in the UK. I'd rather visit the dentist off Little Shop of Horrors than go and see an NHS dentist at this point. It's unbelievable. If you've got a problem with your teeth, just Go and see a neighbour and get them to do it. You'll have more luck. Like Bob Mortimer, do it on a gaming chair in your kitchen and just have a relative poke around inside your mouth with a pair of pliers. Can't be any worse than what you're going to get. Bad treatment's better than no treatment, innit? Anyway, back to the tax increases. They included a capital gains tax on profits from selling shares, increased from 20 to 24%. So they're hammering anyone who's daft enough to save for the future. Like, the one thing that a responsible government does is promote people saving for the future. Because if you encourage people not to save for the future, and every time they get a pay slip, just go, I'll go to the titty bar and I'll piss it all up the wall. You're ruining the nation. You're ruining people's health, the physical and mental health. You are ruining everything. You have to promote saving for the future, having a nest egg. Because this is how it goes in communist countries when your inflation's out of control, like in Zimbabwe. So you have to get paid hourly and then sprint to the shops to buy a loaf of bread before it doubles in price. You build for the future by encouraging people to save, not encouraging them to spend everything they get the second they get their hands on it. The VAT on private schools is ludicrous. Lads who I was in the Corps with went to private school. A lot of hard-working families, if the mother and the father work and they live a very frugal lifestyle and they really want the best for the kids, they'll splurge and try and send them to private school. So that's not attacking rich people. That's attacking striving people who want to do the right thing. Just like the capital gains tax on shares. If you want to do the right thing and you're conscientious, you get punished by self-loathing, pro-terrorist, hands-wringing, sparrow-born socialists like Keir Starmer. Okay? It's shocking. But all you can do is laugh. Air passenger duty on flights by private jet. This is like a manual written by a 15-year-old who's just read Marx for the first time ever. That'll show the rich. Yeah, well, you know what? It might also show the rich that if they want to go and spend a long weekend somewhere in Europe, they're better off going to Paris or Rome and spending a few €100,000 there instead. Maybe it'll just do that. As usual, the increased tax on tobacco, again, because they're like the nanny state. They view The Demolition Man as a documentary. And if you're working class and you like a pint and you like a tab, obviously you're the first one to get reamed. Tax on alcoholic drinks to increase as usual. And stamp duty on second homes. Again, second homes as if every single person who's got one is a billionaire, rather than a 58-year-old bloke and his 59-year-old wife who've worked their entire lives finally downsize to a little bungalow and then rent out their old house that they've worked for their entire life. No, they think if you own 2 houses, you're a billionaire. Do you know what I'm saying? If it was 10 homes, you could understand it. Maybe get some of them footballers like Robbie Fowler who call themselves financial geniuses and do speaking to us saying this is how you get rich, without opening the speech with, first things first, have a 25-year football career. Right? Maybe if it was a 10-house surcharge, it might make sense. But 2, as usual, penalising working class people. And there she is, look, there's dead kids. Dead kids by an imported murderer, and the government are just there, all smiles. All smiles while the Chancellor bends you over and you get banged more than Stevie Wonder's big toe. Brilliant. And obviously there's already bad stories coming out from normal people. And look at these two. They're looking after the socialist friends, aren't they? An extra 1.7 billion for the Welsh government and an extra 3.4 billion from the Scottish government, as if it's all part of this plan to break up the United Kingdom and make everybody in England get massively pissed off because they're fully aware at this point that they're subsidising their neighbours north and west of the border. It's obvious what they're trying to do. And here's a good story from a charity. The national insurance hike could break us. Raising the national insurance rate for employers could break us. A charity for children with special educational needs and disabilities has said, who cares about them? Special. See, they've said it themselves, they're special. Yeah, they're special. So they don't need your money. Send it to the Taliban. Yeah, because that's basically what we're doing, right? If you import 10,000 blokes who have sympathy for the Taliban and then you give them council houses and free money, some of that cash is going to get sent back to the pals in Ghana's, isn't it? So basically, every day you go to work and pay your taxes, you're probably buying a few components for an improvised explosive device. Fantastic use of the taxpayers' money. Miss Ravenscroft said her charity could lose staff and be forced to scale back its services. If there's no protection for us as a charity, it could break us because we're only just coping at the moment. There you go. It's a shame, isn't it? Charity begins at home if you look like me. Charity begins at home for you, But for everybody else, charity definitely doesn't begin at home. Charity begins in the Middle East. Yeah, it starts out there. Give them all your money. Charity begins in a dust bowl. Rolls off the tongue better, doesn't it? So there we go. There's the budget in a nutshell. You're getting diddled by the Chancellor. Fantastic. And we knew we were going to, didn't we? Because I told you this. How many videos did I make about Rachel Reeves? She's probably the only politician in the whole of the UK who makes Diane Abacus look clever. That's how daft Rachel Reeves is. And as you can see from the homepage, budget. PM slams the Tory leader for making factual comments. I'm a patriot, says an Iranian spy. Of course he is, yeah. I'm sure he loves the UK. Scottish judges, tax hikes, and a bit of fear-mongering regarding monkeypox. And that's it. Scary clowns, Molly Russell, stolen rings and pregnancies, and no mention of the elephant in the room. So there you go. If it hasn't sunk in yet, you're getting fingered by the Chancellor. You are despised by your own government, and the death of children means nothing to them. You are expendable. Shut up complaining. Bury the kids. I'll tell you what, you can have 20 minutes off work to bury the kids, then get back to work, you dirty, work-shy English prick. That should be a T-shirt that Labour sell on the merch tab of the Labour HQ website, okay? Easy. That's the news for the day. Tell me which part of the budget you like the best. Is it getting charged more for your booze? Is it getting charged more for your tabs? Is it getting charged more for existing? Is it getting charged more for going to work? If you're an employer with a small business, are you enjoying the idea that you have to pay far more national insurance? This sounds like a fantastic plan to me. As I've said, I am an accelerationist at this point, so this was obviously always going to happen, and we knew it was going to happen when we abandoned the wet walk, limp-wristed Tories. But I didn't quite think they'd be locking people up for thought crimes this early in the game and taxing the ever-loving shit out of bricklayers, plumbers and scaffolders. But you know what? Kind of is on brand for them, isn't it? So fantastic. My advice to you is, if you can possibly afford it, if you're a lone wolf and you haven't got a wife and kids to feed, look up the Woodlander, go and live in a shed with him in the middle of a woods somewhere, get on the rock and roll, and let the idiots who are still daft enough to pay their income tax, let them buy your microchips and your noodle doodles, because obviously you'll have to live off food that probably shortens your life by about 15 years. I'd rather do that than basically pay for every meal people like the Manchester Bomber and Axel Rudu Kanubu have in their entire youth, because that's what's happening. You go to work, you feed the next generation of full-blown jihadis that the government and the police will cover up for. So it looks like at this point, well, that means if you go to work and pay your taxes in England, you are sponsoring terrorism. And I think that's illegal. Never saw that coming. All right, thanks for watching. That's all I've got time for. See you all tomorrow. Toodle pip. Cheers.